Okay, Priyesh, thank you so much for joining me today for the interview. We last spoke back in 2019, which seems like quite a long time ago now. If anyone hasn't seen that interview, I'm going to link to it in the description. Over the last 4 years, a lot has happened. We've seen a global pandemic. I can't believe I'm even saying that. And of course, the rise of AI and many other things. I'd love to kick things off really by getting some insight as to how your business has been going over the last 4 years.
Lovely, and thank you so much, Charles, for inviting me on. And yeah, 4 years on, it's flown. Well, it's flown by. I think if you track back to COVID times, it was an interesting piece because I think a lot of businesses were navigating a relatively new type of normal and almost trying to understand how does the landscape look effectively. And I would say that over during that period, probably for the first 3 to 4 months, it was quite tricky because you're just getting your head around the dynamics of business, how potential clients are looking at this within their businesses and their new framework. But actually, I think during COVID, some businesses struggled. Naturally, you think of restaurants and so on and so forth, where you simply couldn't go to those types of locations, whereas other types of businesses flourished. And I think when we supersede and go past those initial 3 to 4 months where you're finding your feet, actually, I think one thing that COVID brought in was the importance of digital, of your digital footprint, whether that's web, apps, SEO, digital marketing, social media. It runs across all areas there. The importance of your online presence as the first shop window that people look at, I think became very, very prevalent during COVID. And I think that that enabled companies like myself to really, really aggressively expand and take advantage of that. It was a bit of education. It was a bit of nurturing in terms of potential clients. But once those that be understood the importance of it, I thought that during the COVID period, we actually really, really flourished.
When you talk about flourishing, when I interviewed you back in 2019, you're at the point where you had real momentum going with the business. So you were publishing, I think probably around 3 or 4 websites a month. You'd hit a sort of 120K turnover. Have you seen, going through the last period, have you seen sort of growth since then, or have things remained sort of as they were? How has that changed?
Definitely, I would say you're obviously not going to get consistent growth year on year on year. I think there are times where you need to consolidate, you need to look at your systems, your processes, and so on and so forth. But if you look at the 4 years as a whole, absolutely, we're now probably looking at 10 to 12 projects a month rather than the 4. Turnover has dramatically increased. The team has expanded. The quality of work that we're doing, I think, has got significantly better as well. And the types of clients that we're attracting over that 4 year period has scaled as well. So it's broadened to not just the SME market, but also very much the startup market and a few corporate clients as well.
So it's not just a case of you've gone 3x on the number of clients you're bringing on. You're actually working with larger businesses as well and sort of producing more interesting projects. Could you speak to any of those projects and give me any examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So, off the top of my head, I mean, one large client that we have there, they are a shipping and removals company, a very, very large global firm. And we've been able to assist in building out their entire back office systems, front end web work, so that they're able to work seamlessly from the front end to attract new clients, but also work efficiently on the back end so that their team and employees are working efficiently as well, and leveraging technology in that way. So it's been a mixed bag. I would still say our sweet spot is the SME market. I would say 80% of the clients that we bring on are in the SME market. but the startup market and the corporate area has been growing over the last 4 years, and that's something that wasn't prevalent when we spoke did the last interview effectively.
Definitely. And I think that's something that I'd love to explore a little bit more, because I think when you're working with larger clients or indeed startups that have big ambitions, quite often you need to pull specialists into those projects to make things happen. Like, you can't do everything on your own, it's just not possible. So, how has your business changed structurally over the last 4 years? Are there more people involved with your organization? Do you work with more freelancers? How does the org structure work, I guess?
Yeah, so it's a great question. It's a mixture. So we brought in a freelance graphic designer. We found that on the website of things, the amount of requests we were getting from a branding perspective really reached new heights. So that was key. He works pretty much full time on all of our branding work that is there. So that's one element of it. We also have partnered with a software development company, and we work in unison on all more custom built projects, apps, software development, and that allows me access to a massive team of developers as well. So it's not only the products that we get from EaziBusiness that allow us to grow and leverage the technologies that we got, but also expanding the network of partners that we work with on a day-to-day basis to fulfill a lot of the projects that we're doing. So it has expanded quite dramatically.
Excellent. And thinking about growth and continuing to grow the business, how has EaziBusiness over the last sort of 3 or 4 years continued to help you achieve those growth targets and get to that number of clients that you're bringing on each month?
Yeah, so I think it's probably twofold from the top of my head. Number one is the technologies available, the suite of products that are available allow us to expand and look at different avenues and different service lines within the business. But it was something that I said, I'm sure I would have said it, and if I didn't, I apologize, because I should have done 4 years ago, was the support. I think that is absolutely mission critical to everything that we do. So particularly on the website of things, when you are managing such a volume of websites for clients, having a support team in the background that can bug fix, can look at any issues, can look at any custom work that are required to really enhance the product offerings, but also to enhance the support and the service that we offer our client base. I think that speaks volumes. I think that's the one thing that jumps out head and shoulders above everything else. And it's something I've always said, you know, when you are licensing a product, it's one thing to have the product, but I think it's far more important to have the right support, so that as you scale, you've got the team behind you to be able to scale. And I think that's what EaziBusiness provides me for a lot of our web work and website. It's the support is imperative to the business. It really is. And so to be able to just send an email and say, right, this is a bug that we've found, can you fix it? Or this is a custom piece of development that needs to go into the website. What are your thoughts? How could we action this? And to be able to liaise with the support team as an extension of the business, I think is key.
Can I ask, do you have anyone as part of your team that's supporting these businesses, or are you very much acting as almost like the middleman between the local business and the team at EaziBusiness resolving these queries?
No, I do have some people that work for me on that side of things as well, particularly on the project management side. So I brought in a couple of people on the project management side, whether that is web, app, software development, just to handle a lot of the day-to-day communications that are going on.
Excellent. And could you give me some examples of, I guess, typical SMEs that you've been working with recently? So the types of businesses that would purchase a website built on Easy Sites, for example.
it's very difficult to pigeonhole. I've got to be honest. It's across the board. I'll give you an example. Last year, we I think we worked in around, just on the website side of things. We worked in about 60 different industries. So you've got your bread and butter industries such as accountancy practices, legal firms, personal trainers, gyms, so on and so forth. But to some very obscure and interesting and niche businesses, serviced accommodation, for example, so I think that in terms of the type of businesses that we worked with, it was very much across the board. I like to look at it in a different way. For me, it's always about the business owner. For me, I get excited with working with business owners that are forward thinking, that embrace technology, that embrace digital, and can really see the value of that, not in the short term, but in the long term for their business. So I wouldn't say that when we're out pitching for work, we're necessarily looking for a specific industry category. Right, legal firms, we need to focus on legal firms. We want to bring in 10 new clients in the next 3 months within the legal sphere because we've got a lot of work that we've done as example cases, case studies there. It is very much the business owner. And if they are forward thinking, dynamic, they really do embrace technology, I think it is a relationship that works very, very well because they see the value from day dot.
So you're really trying to focus on the entrepreneur rather than the business. So
Correct.
you're looking for someone that's at that point where they want to go for growth. They want to introduce things that make a difference to their business. Could you walk me through some commercial benefits of having a new website or a new app? So what kind of impact has having these products had on your customers?
I think that when you're looking at our sweet spot in terms of clients that we're bringing, I would say, and obviously not everyone fits into this, but I would say that businesses that have been in existence for 2-3 years, you've seen them plateau. So their proof of concept is there, they're doing pretty well, but they've plateaued and they're looking to scale to the next level, is where I think we fit in very, very well. In terms of success stories, I would say the value of a digital product falls into a few key brackets here. Number one is to increase inquiries, lead generation. Number two is to increase sales, and that is predominantly through e-commerce platforms and so on and so forth. The third thing, which I think often goes amiss, is enhancing the brand. So in today's world, our shop window is no longer the high street. People don't go down the high street, look at a shop window, go, that company looks good, let me go in and purchase something. The first thing people do is go online and they look at your website. And I think in an Instagram world, people's attention spans are visibly low, and you probably have 3 to 5 seconds to capture somebody. And if you don't capture them and build trust within 3 to 5 seconds, you've lost them, because it's very easy for them to go back onto Google and find a competitor. And so for us, I think that is one aspect that is often not mentioned by clients. But for me, as we build products, it's probably the one area that they're most appreciative of, because bounce rates reduce, time on site increases, but it's that initial impression to say, do you know what? I've heard about this company. Let me go online. I've seen them online. I look at their website, and within 3 seconds, if we can capture them and really build that trust, I think that is one key element that a lot of websites aren't doing in today's world. From an e-commerce perspective, it's across the board. We've had clients that have generated 50K, 6 figures just directly from the website itself. But like I say, for me, the sweet spot is, can we build trust? By the products that we build, are we building and creating a benchmark in the industry? And are we fueling trust for your potential client base? And I think that is absolutely key. And as a byproduct, what's actually been very interesting is, within industries, I'm always of the ilk that I want to build a product that is at the top of its game in an industry. So funnily enough, that the amount of business that we've got from a competitor going onto a client's website and saying, I've seen this website, you've built it for them, because we always put it in the footer, website designed by Digital Inspired. And they come to us and go, do you know what? I love what you've done with them. Our digital assets are awful. How can you help? So that just gives us kudos as well within that industry that we're working. So I think trust building is absolutely massive to this.
I'd love to explore that topic in just a little bit more depth. So you talk about trust building. So let's imagine I'm a consumer and I'm searching for some information on Google and I come across a website. What do you think helps me build trust with that organization when I see that site?
Yeah, so it's I would say it's something we coined as the 3-second test. So everything is before the fold. So back in the day when we had newspapers, all the top level headlines were before the fold. Before you had to open up the newspaper, all the key headlines were there. And so I apply the same within web design, for example. So without having to do any scrolling, can you capture them in 3 seconds? And I think there are 3 core questions that you need to answer in 3 seconds to your potential client base to build that trust. Number 1, are you clear in terms of what you do? Do you visibly state what you do? Number 2, do you visibly state how you help? And I think that needs to be very emotive. It needs to be a connection that they read. A potential client reads that and says, "Yes, that's the problem I'm facing." They've addressed it from the get-go. And then the third thing is, what do you want me to do? I.e., a call to action. What's the primary call to action that you want your potential client base to engage with? And so as soon as you open up a website, before any scrolling, if you're able to answer those 3 questions, is it clear what you do? Is it clear how you help? And is it clear what you want me to do as a potential customer? You've already got me, because you'll be surprised how many websites don't tick those 3 boxes. And therefore, there's a lack of clarity. And again, it goes back to attention spans. People don't have any attention. And it means that you've lost them because you haven't communicated those 3 points clearly enough, effectively.
And do you feel like visuals play a part in that as well, and branding?
So I think it's visuals, it's content, it's your brand, and how all of that is put together before the fold.
And when you build a website for a customer, do you find that as well as doing a technical build, you are going in and looking at the content, the logo, the branding as well? Is that like a standard thing that you would offer?
It's started to become more and more standard, 100%. That's why we brought in a graphic designer into the team. So branding, it's one of the most common things that we get asked, because when you're doing a refresh for the website, often you're thinking, well, shall we explore a rebrand so that everything has a similar look and feel in terms of the direction that we're going in? So branding 100% is one aspect. Content absolutely is. I think that's one of our USPs, the ability to be able to create emotive strap lines on behalf of clients, to take a deep dive into a client's business, understand how they solve problems, what type of avatar they're looking for, what type of customer they're looking for, and be able to build content around that alongside the visuals and the branding. Everything complements each other. So it's not one thing. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. And if one piece of the jigsaw is missing, it's not complete. So for us, when we're looking at that initial 3 to 5 seconds, it's plugging all the pieces together within that jigsaw puzzle. And once it's all completed, it actually looks like a completed jigsaw puzzle. And only until all the elements are in do you really feel you've built something compelling.
Really, really interesting response. And I was curious when I was listening to that response as to whether you do anything to help businesses get found on Google on an ongoing basis? Because it's all very well having a site that resonates with people, but actually, if it's not showing up on the search engines, it's kind of like it's hidden down a dark alley,
Yeah.
to use that analogy. So, are you offering ongoing SEO or initial SEO on the site when you go through a build?
Yeah, so my background, I started in digital marketing 16 years ago. And for the first 10 years, it was web and SEO. So my personal understanding of SEO is very, very strong. So what we do is we do all the on-page SEO, all the foundational SEO work. So when you're looking at back-end page titles, page descriptions, all the titling from H1 down to H6 on the individual pages, tagging all the images and so on and so forth, so that when a website goes live, a client knows that it's all the foundational SEO work is in place, gets applied as standard to every single project that we do. That for me is just bread and butter. It should be for every website, regardless of what agency you use. That should just be bread and butter. Now, ongoing SEO, things like link building, blog writing, we don't do. It's our core three areas in the business are web design, mobile app development, and software development. And I'm a firm believer that I don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. So it was pigeonholing what are the three core areas we want to focus the business in, and SEO didn't quite fall into that bracket.
You mentioned the three verticals you are interested in. I think the one that we haven't talked about yet is mobile apps. Do you have a typical client who might be looking for a mobile app, or is it entrepreneur specific?
It's entrepreneur specific. It's very much startup specific. So most of our apps are custom native builds, and they are very unique in their makeup, and it's very much based on the startup's concept. So every startup that we engage with has a weird, wonderful, and wacky idea, and they're commonly looking to build a mobile application that facilitates that. But every single project is fundamentally different.
Could you tell us about any interesting projects that you've personally liked working on?
Yeah, I think one project which was really great was during COVID actually, and it was referring to the removals company that I spoke about. When somebody is looking to move, a surveyor comes to the house, and effectively during COVID, the surveyor, obviously it was null and void then. You couldn't enter people's houses and so on and so forth. So we were tasked with building a surveyor app where the team is sitting at home. They send a link to the app. The customer opens the app, and then you're able to take screen recordings of the entire property, all the goods that are being moved, all the valuables, still shots. It all gets saved on a database so that then the client can quote instantly without a surveyor having to go in. And that just goes to show, even during COVID, the advent of technology meant that business was able to fulfill a lot of the customer requests, even though a lot of other companies were at a standstill.
Really good example, and I love the fact that you've used technology to keep people safe as well as delivering a service which is clearly going to be in demand as well. You've talked about working with a huge range of businesses, 60 different industries, sometimes rolling out 16 projects a month. It's a lot of work. It sounds like a lot of work. How are you acquiring all of these customers at the moment? You talked about having your name on the footer of a website after a build. I'm guessing there's probably some other acquisition strategies that you have in place as well.
Yeah, so that's the one interesting thing. When compared to 4 years ago, that it was a long-term strategy that I built in, that I was very much looking at organic growth. So for me, there's all sorts of avenues you've got. You've got paid ad, you've got social media, you've got SEO. There's so many avenues that you can go down by. But if we focus on, for example, paid ads as an example, the analogy of a tap is great here, because the more money you spend, the tap stays open, which is wonderful, and the leads come in and so on and so forth. But as soon as the tap closes and you stop spending money, that all those leads ground to a halt. And I think from a short-term business perspective, that can be very, very powerful. But from a long-term business standpoint, I think it's not sustainable. So it was a longer-term strategy of reputation, fundamentally that. So I have two avenues. Number one is networking. It's getting out there, speaking to business owners, building out my own personal profile, my own personal brand within networking circles, so that when anyone is thinking about website, apps, and software development, I'm the first person that they speak to within northwest, West London, and so on, and even central London. So that was one key aspect. But I'm a huge believer in your client base being your advocates. So, and it's a slow burner. So if you do a great job for a client, they hopefully become fans. If they become fans, they will become advocates. And anytime there's a potential query of, do you know somebody who works in this space, we're going to be put forward. And that is then no longer a cold lead that you would get via an ad campaign. That is a very warm introduction, because the trust has already been built there. And so that is something I've been working on for 5 to 6 years as a strategy. And the beauty of that is it's cumulative. The more clients you bring on board, assuming you do a great job, the more advocates you have, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, effectively, where it keeps growing and growing and growing. That has been my strategy from day dot, and it's a slow burner, but it's yielded fantastic results where we don't go out in the market for lead generation. The focus is for the leads to come our way through our referral network and existing client base, assuming we've done a great job. And I'm glad to say that to date we've seen month on month, year on year growth just based on that strategy.
So there've been plenty of times where I've personally purchased a product or a service and I've been over the moon with it, like really happy, but it hasn't turned me into a product or service advocate. Like I've just kind of kept that level of happiness to myself.
Yeah.
What mechanism do you deploy to take someone from being a happy customer to a customer that refers new business?
I think that when you have a product or service that is a one-time offering, so you purchase it once, you do a great job, but then out of mind, out of sight, that's very easily done, where you're not front of mind. The difference with our business is this, that we build websites, apps, we do software development. But once the product is built and created and it's launched and it's live, it doesn't stop there. It's the ongoing support and care that we offer. And the reason I bring this up is because anytime there's a support query from a client, it gets addressed, and the value of service, the quality of service compounds even more. And because we are in constant touch with our client base, some clients are very proactive and they're in touch with us every week with changes, tweaks, and so on and so forth. Other clients are a bit more, it's a little bit less, where, maybe it's every 3 months, 6 months. But the point is this, that we are still in constant touch with our client base. And so therefore, remaining front of mind when we're continually doing a great job becomes far easier. And so I think that is almost the magic dust that you sprinkle on, where those advocates stay with you, because they might have only emailed me last week for a website tweak or a change. And then this week, one of their acquaintances goes, "Oh, do you know what? I'm just setting up a business. I need a website." They only spoke to me last week about this tweak, so it's already front of mind. And I think that the aftercare service facilitates the ability for this strategy to work very, very well.
Do you have any tips on delivering great after build service. What do you think makes good customer service or good support?
I would say it's two things. One is back end, one is front end. Um, so the back end is systems, processes, and tools to project manage. So we use Monday.com, we use Trello, we use Teams as three project management tools for all of our projects. So making sure nothing gets missed effectively, I think, is absolutely key. So, and that's easy to achieve because there's so many platforms out there. Just finding a platform or platforms that work for you and the client is very, very easy. And we internally within the team to make sure everything is being actioned and worked on. But I think the one thing on the front-facing side which is missed, and I don't think this is just in my industry, I think it's in business full stop. I think there's a lack of value on communication. I'm a firm believer in over communicating, and so I think that if a support query comes in, I will never wait for a client to chase me. If I've not heard from the team, that might be because of some technical issues that we don't quite have the answers. But if I know it's gone 3 or 4 days, the client is probably wondering what's going on. I will ensure that communication is made saying, we're still researching this, we're finding this out, X, Y, and Z. So they're kept abreast and they're kept in the loop of this. So for me, communication is front end communication and back end systems and tools are the things. But what's paramount is communication. I just don't think businesses communicate enough.
Definitely, I would 100% agree with that. And actually, it's that frequency of communication, a speed of first response time that makes a huge difference when it comes to how you feel about a company. And if you feel like they're looking out for your best interests, then you will always look out for the best in them. And if you're not getting that back, it sometimes sets you off on the wrong foot.
It's exactly that. It's interesting. Often when a bug or a support query comes in, all the client or customer wants to know is they want peace of mind that it's in hand. That's all they want. Whether if it's not been fixed just yet is fine, as long as they're confident that it will be fixed and it has peace of mind. But the less you communicate, the less peace of mind the customer has. And I think that that is absolutely key, a key strategy to all of the above that is there. I mean, you'll probably notice, Charles, when I'm emailing the support team with various queries, you probably won't get anyone as proactive as me finding out what's going on with queries. I over communicate on absolutely everything because it just builds trust. You know that it's in hand and you never have to chase. You never have to chase digital inspired as an organization because we've got you covered effectively.
I think some great business advice and also some great life advice as well. So over the last 12 months, we've released a number of new resources for our partners, including the Marketing Hub, the Sales Center, and also snapshot reports as well. I know that you have a lot of systems that you've sourced independently, but I was curious as to whether or not you'd leveraged any of those new innovations coming from EaziBusiness at all.
To date, I haven't. I've seen all of them in action. They are really, really good products. They're very, very, very strong products. And I think as a startup, some of them are will be mission critical to a lot of businesses. And that would be for a lot of new licensees coming in. I think for me, my perspective, we've got so many processes and systems in play that I didn't want to rock the boat this year, affect it over the last year. And I wanted to leverage the growth that we've got with the systems that we put in place effectively. But it's on the roadmap. Certainly is on the roadmap to use a lot of these platforms there.
Perfect. I think ultimately you've got things that are working for you as an entrepreneur with your business. It's always tempting just to stick with them because change always requires energy. I wanted to, I guess, finish up the interview with a couple of final questions. So one related to the commercials, and I was curious as to how much you would go about charging specifically an SME. So let's park those businesses that are looking for custom projects because custom work can cost anything depending on the aspirations and dreams of the entrepreneur, as we both know. But thinking about those typical local businesses, what's the market looking like for these products at the moment?
It's very buoyant. It's very, very, very buoyant. I think that businesses, it goes back to what I said at the top. I think that businesses are becoming more and more in tune with the importance of technology, the importance of digital within the framework of their business. And I don't think it's ever had such importance on a business. I mean, it's even you touched on it before. AI, the technology is moving at such a pace. Businesses don't want to be left behind, and so for me, the market is very, very buoyant from an SME's perspective. There are lots of companies being opened, but also there are lots of companies that hit our sweet spot where they've been in business for 2, 3 years. They've done well. They've got a good custom base, but they're now looking to take their business to new heights effectively. So I think you can fall into both brackets, whether you're a startup or you are looking to scale. The marketplace is very, very strong for any of these types of products that EaziBusiness have.
Excellent. And my last question is, what advice would you give to an entrepreneur who is just about to launch a business with EaziBusiness? So they don't have your network of referrals yet and all of the people in your life that help you achieve these fantastic things. They're starting out from scratch.
Yeah.
What would you recommend that they do?
So number one is learn. I think when you start a business, it's an incredibly steep learning curve. The beauty of EaziBusiness is it's a business in a box. A lot of the elements are just done for you. So you utilize that, but get a handle on all the technologies available, how they work, how they benefit businesses. Get a real deep dive into the understanding of the product offerings that are there, because they are exceptional, but they're only as good as your understanding of them. So I would say education is number one. Number two is patience. I would say that you've got to be looking at it as a long-term strategy rather than short-term gains. A short-term win will give you a high temporarily, but it's simply not sustainable. And then the third thing I would say is build your strategic partnerships. So if you are aligned with businesses who share similar client bases, or if you're aligned with businesses that can offer services as add-ons to your business, so that you become a very well-rounded business, build the right partnerships and build the right team around you. So yeah, it's I would say they're probably the most important things that are there. So learn, be patient, and surround yourself with the right people.
I think three great pieces of advice that any entrepreneur could benefit from taking on board. Priyesh, I know you are an incredibly busy person, and I just wanted to finish up today by saying I found the conversation really insightful.
Absolutely. No, and likewise, Charles, thank you so much for having me on again. I echo your sentiment, and maybe we can catch up in a year or two and see what has changed in the landscape, really.